If you had an accent, you were really rad. Things just took a complete turn after Miss India UAE.
Do you think people are constantly speculating about your marriage?
You got to be very, very careful with showing kids online. When I lost my father, I was hospitalized because of the trauma that I went through. I don't usually talk about, but I think it's the right time to.
Hello, Shweta. Welcome to Chima Conversations.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. Oh my God, we're finally doing this.
I know. I've been following you since a couple of years now. And I think only recently I got the courage to DM you about, I think, like lipstick shade or something.
Really? It's
Yeah.
just,
And I was
do I
like,
come across as someone who bites people's head off? Is that what it is?
no, I think it's when you follow someone for so long, you kind of feel like they're like, oh, like I don't know how to describe it, but
Oh,
I was like, hello, Shweta, that was that
thank
lipstick.
God you did it. Finally, thank God you DM because I watch, every video that you put up, and I'm like
Uh-huh.
a huge, huge fan of your work. It's just whenever I want a great pick me up, your videos just make me laugh.
Oh,
Really, it's
thank you.
amazing.
Thanks for making my day. You're a Malayali who grew up in Dubai.
Mhm.
And when you often grow up outside of your home state, you kind of grow up feeling like you're neither here nor there. Like people feel like you're not Malayali enough. The people
Yeah.
from Dubai feel like you're not Emirati enough.
Yes.
So, what was it like for you growing up as a Malayali in Dubai?
I think it was a very protected environment in Dubai. All the kids out there very spoon fed.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit too safe, like you understand. It's very much like Singapore.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is. It's like a spoon fed environment. You ask for it, you get it. You have your parents. We are more Indian than the Indians out here in India. It is
Okay.
like you've got your Indian sports club, you've got your classical dance, so
Mm-hmm.
it's very rooted. And at the same time, it was very hard when I got here to Kochi. I was here in St. Teresa College for about a year, and to
Okay.
adjust to the norms of how kids are out here. They're very. I won't say that Dubai kids are not street smart, but don't
Mm-hmm.
get me wrong. But there is a certain skill set that children out here have, which many Dubai kids didn't have back then. Now it is
Yeah.
changing. So to adjust to that environment, oh my God, it was huge. It was something else. Then the accent also did not help because
I can imagine. NRI Kidano.
all that started, the ragging started, and it's just that we are known for our confused accent. It's neither
Mm-hmm.
American, neither British, neither
Mm-hmm.
Indian. So I mean, I blame my parents for not in Malayalam as much as they should have. And I
Mm-hmm.
also think it's only because they were born and raised outside of Kerala. My dad in
Mm.
Pune, my mom in Chennai. So it's a if I knew the language, that barrier also did not help, when I came to Kochi. But then after that, during Miss India, during my pageant days and modeling days when I came to Bombay, that also, there was a little adjustment issue, but by then,
Mm-hmm.
times changed. And, there were a lot of NRIs in the Zoom. So we all were like one confused pod, in the corner, like looking at each other, be like, oh, so you're also new. Okay, hi, my name is Shweta. So it's changing, I feel, but I think back then it was extremely difficult, really, really hard.
I wanted to know, like, what were some moments where you felt that difference quite starkly?
I think, like I said, it was the language
Mm-hmm.
mostly. I think that was one of the main reason why I think I felt very left out.
Mm-hmm.
And also back then, now it has changed, like I said, because there's so many people who from abroad they have come down and they're settling here in Kochi.
Mm-hmm.
But if you had an accent, you were really ragged. You would be like, "Oh, Madama Vandu." It was like one of those. And I'm like, So you tend to get quieter and quieter because people around you would be like thinking you're putting up an accent or you're talking in a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
which wasn't true. That was just how I was. I was raised and even my dressing sense was different, so
Mm-hmm.
I had to adjust to what the normal dressing in a college was out here, though there was no sort of a uniform or anything, but
Mm-hmm.
everyone would wear, kurti and salwar kameez, and here was one madama with one, 3/4, jeans back then,
Oh,
with like a, one of those, what you call it, the strappy tops,
uh-huh.
and
Camis.
that was like, oh my God, like, look at what she's wearing. So that was an issue for me as well. But eventually, I guess it just became one of the best times in my life. If I had to go back
Mm-hmm.
to the kind of friendships made and to the kind of naughtiness that I did, like that was like the best time. If I wish I could just turn back time to it. Finally, people just got used to it and they just let me live.
Yeah, I think the first 6 months, everyone likes to give you a bit of a hard time. Then once they get to know you, they're like, it's okay.
The ragging. I never see. You used to see that in films, but
Uh-huh.
you never, when you face it, like it's a different thing altogether. It was a concept that I used to hear people talk about, but when you go through it, where they would just pull you up, and I was tall, so I can't hide. That's another thing. So here's a lanky, tall person who they would just pick on, and they would be like, "Okay, now dance or now sing," and so. Oh my God, yeah, that was another thing which I just did not adjust to, the ragging bit, because I was like, how can you do it and then go and complain to the principal, which was the worst thing to do when you're being ragged,
Oh
just
no.
just do it and shut up and leave, but I didn't know anything. I was just so new. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that I found was a little bit hard, but eventually I think everyone just got used to it. You start to
Mm-hmm.
make friends with the seniors, and they've got your back after that.
I would say that it's great advice, but I think now ragging is a huge no-no in schools and colleges everywhere. So
Yes,
like that doesn't happen at all.
thank God. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
God. But those very innocent ragging does take place. The
Mm-hmm.
ones like sing and dance is like, just like a little chumma or a power
Yeah.
game. But the very serious one that used to happen in medical college and engineering college and all
Mm-hmm.
that never took place. In St. Teresa as well. It was quite a nice crowd, actually.
But it's always fun. Like I remember even in my college, all the NRI kids would always kind of stick together.
Yes,
Yes, that happens.
yes,
And then
yes.
they don't overtly show it, but you kind of feel like, oh, they think they are better than us. Because I
Mm.
remember they were like, where's the McDonald's? Where's the Burger King?
Yeah. It was like that's what you would have conversation with people who, man, they were ragged a lot. Okay, so for me, I think I just learned earlier on, just adjust, keep
Mm-hmm.
your mouth shut, and just play along. But you have the ones from America who are like, girl, don't talk to me this way, and then they're ragged 10 times more. So I'm like, so we had there was a crowd. You knew, like you said, there was that NRI crowd, and then there
Mm-hmm.
was the crowd from here, the locals, and there was that adjustment issue. You would know in a classroom, the backbenchers were all NRI students,
Mm-hmm.
so we would be the quiet ones. Then after that, it used to be like the fashion also changed a little bit. Like, you would
Mm-hmm.
see that they became bolder in what they wore. They were like, what, I'm going to dress up however I want. And then
Uh-huh.
we were not able to also adjust to the strict rules, because Dubai, it was strict, but over here, when you're told, okay, you can't wear this, you can't wear that, and all that. So when you get into that college, what you call it, like rebellious streak, because it's
Mm-hmm.
such a protected environment in Dubai, and then suddenly you get a taste of freedom in Kochi. So you're like, what? I'm going to take advantage of this. Dad's not around, mom's not around. So you just get that rebellious streak, and yeah, it was good as well as bad, but mostly good. I enjoyed it. No complaints at all.
Yeah, I can see like you have such like a glow on your face when you're talking about those years.
Of course, of course. I mean, it was. I wish I could turn back time when I see
Mhm.
how what kids like. When they are on their tab and when they are very much indoors, and I'm like, man, if you only you knew what we were up to. So,
Wearing 3/4 pants and strappy tops.
going, there would be one small Archie's. I remember there was a small Archie's bookstore, and we thought that was the happening place. Let's go to Archie's. So, and, you would buy your jewelry and read those Hallmark cards, and that was like the best thing ever. And yeah, it was just a splendid time, I could say.
In a 2003 interview, you mentioned that your journey into the modeling world began with a fashion show in Dubai. How did
Yes.
that fashion show happen? Were you scouted? Did you apply?
Actually, when I lost my father,
Mm-hmm.
I was hospitalized because of the trauma that I went through, and I had this, which I don't usually talk about, but I think it's the right time to, because I had this disease called GBS, and
Okay.
that got me in the ICU for a couple of months. I was completely paralyzed, and there was nothing that I could do. So I think when I was going through that phase of only the mind working because everything else shut down, I remember this ad coming up. I could hear, that in October there's going to be Miss India UAE. For the first time in UAE, Miss India is going to take place, because in an Arab country to have a pageant, it was a big taboo back then. So I remember that was my motivation to, like, do better, get healthier. And
Okay.
when I got out of the hospital in September, I remember telling my mom, and I couldn't even stand because physiotherapy, speech therapy, all I had to do. And this was a motivation, like, I'm going to participate and I'm going to win it. So it was something that I just chumma told my mom, and my mom was like, "Are you palm? Okay, fine. Let me fill up the form." She's like, "Let me fill up your form, whatever makes you happy." And I participated in that and I won. So
Mhm.
that's how modeling started for me in Dubai, because then I had to represent Dubai abroad for the Miss India Worldwide, and
Mhm.
I just got the taste of ramp, and I got the taste of pageant, and that really just opened a lot of doors for me because I started modeling in Dubai, and that's when I was like, "See ya, Dubai," and then that was it. I came to Bombay, and I was like, "Okay, let's start in the big bad world called Mumbai," and
Uh-huh.
started with that. So yeah, that's how it started for me in Dubai. Basically, it was just a challenge. Nothing like I got scouted. I wish it was that one of those,
Yeah, they see
standing
you
in
at the
the bus stop
mall.
and someone watches me, and yeah, it was like, I'm like, I want to win. I want to show people I can walk. I know. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's
How old
how.
were you when you participated in it?
Where, Miss India UAE,
Yes.
18. I had just turned 18.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, 17. I just turned 18. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I lost dad a year before that. So yeah,
I'm so
yeah.
sorry.
No, it's all right. It's just it's lovely when I look back at all the things that I have done. I'm like, oh my god, it's some life, that I can actually write a book, because the kind of things that has taken place in my life. I mean, if I had to sit and talk to people about how I got into modeling, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
no one would think it is because of a sickness, because of an
Yeah.
illness. Yeah.
And then hearing an ad for Miss India UAE.
Yeah, exactly. Imagine that was the only thing I heard when I was in the ICU, So even then I was like, oh, let's let me enjoy and make some money, and let opportunities come my way. So it was nice. I mean, it just worked for me. And
Mm-hmm.
being the first person to win in UAE, that was quite an accomplishment. Of course, after about 2 years, that pageant itself closed down.
Oh, is it?
So that is why when people, remember Miss India UAE, they would remember, okay, you're the girl who won that, because after
Wow.
that it just didn't take place. So
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to be the first for something.
Yeah, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Yes, if not college and academics, why not this?
Did your mother think that modeling was going to be just like a short-term plan and that you would probably return to studies later on?
Yeah, I mean, she knew that this was a passion, this was a hobby, because even when I was in St. Teresa's out here,
Mm-hmm.
I remember getting few modeling offers. There were brands out here that, because I was tall, so they would be like, okay, why don't you do this? And dad was very supportive, so was mom, but they
Mm-hmm.
knew always that this was like a side hustle, something to, for her pocket money. So yeah, she was never worried that this was going to be like a full fledged.
Mm-hmm.
She was surprised when I made it a full fledged, career. When I was in like between studies and this, because I started correspondence when I went there
Mm-hmm.
to Dubai, because things just took a complete turn after Miss India UAE. The work was a lot. Then I started becoming an artist manager to a singer. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
Yeah, this guy called Sukhbir. I was his manager. This Punjabi singer. So touring along with him and all that. So it just at such a young age, it was difficult to adjust with everything. So I thought correspondence, and then when everything was completed, I was like, you know what? Let me just go to Bombay.
Mm-hmm.
So then, mummy realized, okay, this girl is serious about making this into a career, but luckily she was very supportive.
That's
Um,
very rare.
yeah, it is. Back then, nowadays, I think mothers and parents are a lot more open about what kids want to do. It's not just academics, they are open to everything. But back then, it was like very rare to have family that would be like, just go. And I think because of what happened to me health wise,
Mm-hmm.
mom was like, just go, ja, Simran, ja. So it was one of those like, just don't get into, that sad state again. Just
Uh-huh.
just do whatever you want to do. And that's what happened. So yeah, very lucky actually, very supportive family.
Wow. And then in 2003, you go on to win Miss India Earth.
Mhm.
What was the preparation process for that like?
Funnily enough, when Femna Miss India, the ad came out, I had just moved to Bombay. I was, I think, almost 8 months in of taking whatever work. I didn't think that, I really thought after winning Miss India UAE, I'll go to Bombay and this is it. It really got a beating to my ego, man, because they were like, standing in line and, auditioning and, all that stuff was happening. And I was actually a tall but curvy person. And
Mm-hmm.
that proved to be very challenging because I was not skinny enough for modeling. Back then you had to be really like, really thin.
Mm.
So that was also a challenge and took a real beating for my ego, man. And what happened eventually was that I was hungry. I swear, this is not, this is not, I'm not exaggerating, but
Okay.
I think the lack of food, because I was like living on Parle-G and Maggie and, getting odd jobs here and there. When the ad came, I knew that I would be put up at Maratha Sheraton for the training. And just because I knew there would be buffet for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I was like, dude, this is the best opportunity for me to participate. There was no other reason but food. Food has always
Uh-huh.
been the core, the love of my life. And it was
Mm-hmm.
back then, it was the love of my life. It'll continue. So I auditioned, I took
Uh-huh.
part, and then luckily I got selected. And I was put at Maratha Sheraton for 2 months, and the training was tough because the food that I thought I would get, it didn't happen.
Oh,
So I was put in some blood group diet, man, where I'm not supposed to have no sugar, no carbs, no meat, no nothing, So
so
it
just
was like,
salads?
it was salads and there was egg whites and there was loads of liquids like tender coconut water and turmeric juice and amla juice. And I was like, oh my God. And then 5 o'clock, they would wake you up because your training would start, your gym and outdoor activities, and then, how to talk, how to walk, and the rest of the jazz, or, of getting you ready for the Miss India pageant that took place. So it was, I didn't expect it to be this tough, and hats off to all the girls that actually do it, man. You always see the end result of girls sashing down the ramp, but you
Mm-hmm.
have no idea what goes behind the scene. There's hardly any sleep. I thought, Maratha Sheraton, 5-star bed. I didn't even see the bed because by the time you hit the sack, you're so tired. And
Mm-hmm.
then the next thing you know is the alarm sets off and you have somebody. We all had our own chaperone. So the chaperone would wake you up at 5 o'clock and make sure that you're down for your training. So it was damn tough, damn tough. So,
And you have to do this and still look like you've had like 8 hours of sleep
oh
and
yeah,
like look like you have it all together.
absolutely, because you have the press meet, right? And the press is like, so how are you feeling? And you're like, wonderful, this is such an opportunity. Hashtag grateful, hashtag this. And inside you're like, please just feed me. Please just let me sleep. So yeah, because every time you're supposed to, there's some sponsorship or something or another where you're
Hmm.
supposed to do some brand deals. That during my time, Sunsilk was the main sponsor. So
Right.
for
Hmm.
Sunsilk, you had to be like, full wind in the hair, and just act as if everything is good. But yeah, you have to look presentable 24/7, and that's tough,
It's really
because
hard.
yeah, it is. You don't want to be in full makeup, and then even when you're training and working out, you have the camera spanning, and you're like, like you even
Oh
when you're
no.
working out, you're like posing and working out, so it was like, what is this? What is happening?
So I want
Yeah.
to ask you, like, when you won the title, what was the first meal that you had?
Um, I didn't have food even that night because they took us straight to the press conference.
Okay.
And by the time the buffet was closed, I remember because I went to the room and I cried because so someone sneaked in McDonald's late at night. So
Okay.
I remember having a bite of that. But I think because of the 2 months of complete clean eating, it just didn't suit me much. So I
Hmm.
just went to sleep. But the next day, when we traveled all the way to Delhi for the press conference, I had butter chicken. Oh my God. I had butter
Hmm.
chicken. I had naan and butter chicken. And the way the staff was looking at me was like as if someone who has been starved all their life. I ate so much. And I remember when I was ordering, I told the other two girls, so what are you eating? And they were like, oh, okay. We thought we were sharing this. And I didn't even because I ordered naan and butter chicken and kebab and paneer and whatever it was. The apple pie. I remember ordering a big apple pie, and I'm like, okay. So I looked at the other two girls. I'm like, what are you having? And they just looked at me. They're like, oh, okay. And they opened the menu because they were like, we just thought we were sharing. And I'm like, hell no. So yeah, I remember apple pie, butter chicken, naan, and there was paneer tikka. That was my meal
Hmm.
right after winning. And it was yum.
What a great meal. I'm sure it would have been so memorable, right?
It was like too good. Oh man, food! I tell you, but yeah, it was good. I mean, after that, again, our training for 1 year started
Hmm.
for our international pageant, and then I remember that night we had our team members saying, "Okay, this is it. Enjoy your meal because for the next 1 year you go back to your diet again."
Oh
So it's
no.
like, okay, thanks. You know.
No wonder you remember this butter chicken naan so well in such vivid
Very well,
detail.
because after that it was a tiffin for us.
Okay.
Every lunch, breakfast, all that to our house, a tiffin would come of a specialized planned meal, and then it was back to training again. It was back to training. I was telling somebody like, "Oh man, I was fit." You could actually iron something on my abs. It was,
Wow.
and it was, what a body. I mean, it was like fit everywhere. There was like cut and all, but it's okay. It's all right.
Butter
Came
chicken is
back.
better.
Yes, any day. Any day. But yeah, it was okay. It was fun.
Hmm.
Good times, actually.
Yeah. But now coming to your content creation journey, you posted on YouTube, I think your first video 8 years ago in August 2015. And it was
Oh,
actually, yeah, I watched it. It was really nice. It was a vlog of your day, a day in your life in London.
yeah,
And now that I've spoken to you, I realize why it included so many clips of food. Because I think you went to many restaurants, and I was like, yeah, I like this. This is exactly the kind of perfect day that
yeah,
I would imagine.
yeah.
Um, so you started off with making vlogs. At
Hmm.
what point did you switch to making beauty content and then think about, okay, I'm going to make YouTube like my thing?
Funnily enough, when I got to London, I was not get after my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get any job out there. I was really struggling to get a job. So I was part of events as well, and then I was a model. Back to events. Even during after Miss India as well, I started managing a lot of artists, because that's what I did when I was in
Mm-hmm.
Dubai. So I thought all this would help me when I moved to London, and I would do odd jobs of getting Indian artists to London and get a
Got it.
commission out of that. I would
Mm-hmm.
just put an agency and the Indian artist and get a commission, but it was not frequent. And
Mm-hmm.
I remember going into a rabbit hole because, financially also I'm such a financially independent person, and to suddenly become dependent,
Yeah.
yeah, that was really hard. It was so hard for me. So I remember talking to my husband, and he was like, you know how to do makeup. He just told me to just, pick up your camera. He said, just invest in a camera, and why don't you? And by then, all my relatives would be like, hey, listen, what is the latest in this makeup? Because I was always interested
Got
in
it.
just going out, or when they used to come to London, they would be like, where do we go and eat? Where do we
Mm.
go and shop? So I thought, let me start vlogging it just for my family. I'll put it out there. Whoever wants to watch, they can tune in and watch. And that's what actually took place. I wanted to start vlogging. I wanted to talk about food. But
Mm-hmm.
eventually, what started to happen is when I used to buy, those days I used to buy a lot of my products.
Uh-huh.
Because there was no concept of PR, and I was just a brown girl in the midst of a lot of white people. So
Right.
I didn't talk like them, I didn't look like them, so it was very hard for me to get jobs and break into that mold.
Mm-hmm.
So I started just buying products, and I would just look into the camera and say whether this was worth it, not worth it. And I think there was no one who, I won't say that. I think one of my biggest strengths is reviews. I get into the detail of it,
Yeah.
and usually a review would be like, hey, this is good, but this was a person who had acne, and there was no one like me out there who had acne prone skin and who would talk about, okay, this makeup is not looking nice, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
cover acne, or this skincare didn't do anything good. So that's how I was like, why not be like start talking for people who suffer from problematic skin. Why
Mm-hmm.
not be a spokesperson for them and talk about products, and tell the truth whether it works or not. And that's how it started actually. Knowingly unknowingly, it just picked up. It took me a long time for people, because I was there in London. But I
Yeah.
think slowly in India, people started hearing about, if they wanted to know about The Ordinary. I was one of the
Mm-hmm.
first to talk about The
Yeah.
Ordinary, in the Indian content creator field. So when they heard about The Ordinary and they would type Ordinary, my video would be like,
Yeah.
"Ah." So that's how from food it went to skincare, and
Right.
then from skincare to makeup. And then I
Mm-hmm.
thought, this is brilliant. I love doing it. In fact,
Yeah.
even more than food or whatever, I love reviewing and just giving my honest opinion about certain stuff. And that's how it started. That's how we went with the flow of things.
You said it took a while for things to pick up. Was there a particular video that really changed things for you and shot you out there?
I think there was this video that I did of the honest YouTuber. This
Mm-hmm.
was in 2020, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That is when things started to change for me, because it was a trend that was happening in the West where, a set of question you had to answer honestly. It can be the most aggressive toned question to the
Mm-hmm.
most blatant skincare related. But the questions that I got, it was something. It really was. I think it had to do with my personal life. There was a lot of aggression towards content creators. I think in 2020 when lockdown happened,
Mm-hmm.
I think there was a lot of, what can I say, negativity towards content creators, because I understand that people were going through so much, and here they were like, oh, buy this very nice skin, all that. So people like, keep quiet, man, so I think that video did really, really well. And that's when people started to notice, because I had nothing to hide. I was going through my own difficult phase. I was stuck here,
Mm-hmm.
during my pregnancy and post. So I just thought, why not do this challenge? And that became a trend after that here in India, because right after that, many people out here started doing
Mm-hmm.
honest YouTuber. So that was a game changer for me, because that's when the Indian market opened up and brands started to notice, because, okay, there is this girl called Shweta. She's now stuck
Mm-hmm.
in India. So let's work with her. So that's, I think, 2020, after being so long on YouTube, I think 2020 was the game changing. I mean, it was a game changer for me. It was a turning point in my career.
Mm. So
Yeah.
5 years, that's a long time to stay
A long
consistent at something.
I can't say that I was like, yeah, I was consistent, but at the same time, I was also looking out for other jobs. I would do odd jobs. I got
Mm-hmm.
back into events and I would be like, getting my commission out of that. And I wasn't happy because it was very difficult for me to get a job or a collab in London.
Yeah.
But when I got stuck out here, I think what turned into a blessing, besides my daughter, was the fact that this video happened and brands started to reach out. Now it's a different scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And sadly enough, now with 2020 also came short form content,
Yes, I was gonna ask you. Yeah.
the short form content came into the scene, and that also changed so much for me in terms of numbers, in terms of growth. It became very stagnant. But I noticed that what made me happy was I've got a crowd that is
Mm-hmm.
very loyal. I've
Mm-hmm.
got my set. So for me, I'm happy. I found a way to strike a balance where the brand is happy with me, where I've got my people who grew with me, when they
Yeah.
first watched me, and they're growing with me. So that is why I talk about, makeup for 40s. I talk about, because the age group is along with me. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
there, going like,
You can still do that.
I can do that, but imagine if I do that, you yourself would be like, every day unfollow button, imagine all of a sudden you'd be like, oh my god, she's gone mental. So
Uh-huh.
I realized that, yeah, times have changed, and the kind of content that we watch is also changed, but
Mm-hmm.
I've just stuck to what I know best. So yeah, I mean, bless everyone who is growing with whatever trends. I mean, hats off. But I
Mm-hmm.
can't do that. It'll look very weird all of a sudden if I just take a bottle of vitamin C and break into a dance. So it'll look really, really weird. They would be like, "Oh, okay, she's lost the plot."
This is so
So
good. It's making me dance.
it's making me dance and then, just start. I think my family itself would be like, it's time to bite a leather strap. So it's. So, yeah, but short form content then happens. So it's
Mm-hmm.
always been a struggle with me where YouTube is. Um, I mean, I've been enjoying Instagram a lot more
Mm-hmm.
right now because, it's always been that short form content. It's always
Yeah.
been about, that 1 minute review. But it's so sad to see how YouTube videos, it either you have one video that does really well, but you have your short form content that does better.
Yeah.
And that whole trend of just sitting and watching your favorite YouTuber talk and connect
Mm-hmm.
with you for like 10 minutes is not there anymore. You've got a certain sector of crowd, and because they've grown with me, they are the
Mm-hmm.
ones who watch me, and to reach out to the youngsters who recall value, and they don't have the patience to watch a 10-minute video. So that
Mm-hmm.
is that is really disheartening for me. So but what do you do? You just have to go with the times. I've seen when YouTube was this, I've seen when YouTube was that. It's always a way with YouTube. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's going to come back one day or another, but right now you just ride the flow.
I actually think long form content isn't going anywhere. I really enjoy long form content. I really like your sit down reviews where you, especially your Q&As. I love listening to your Q&A. It's so interesting the way you answer all of it.
Yeah.
So I can just keep it there and I can watch the entire thing. But it's an interesting point you bring about short form and long form content, because that's something all of us keep struggling in, because the platforms keep changing,
Yeah.
what works keeps changing. I wanted to know, like, where do you kind of see content going in the future? Like, do you see any trends, not in terms of content, but in terms of the style of content? Do you see anything growing in the future that is still at its nascent stage right now?
I don't think there's going to be much change, but I also feel lifestyle related content is going to be something that people will tune into a lot more. I
Mm-hmm.
think already there's that saturation point that people have reached. How much
Yeah.
more can you talk about skincare? How much
Mm-hmm.
more can you talk about makeup? Yes, your reviews are there, that market is never going to die. In fact, it's going to boom even more.
Yeah.
So people like me, we're very fortunate that our job is secure that way. There's always going to be a new launch, and we'll always be, because no matter what, you'll always want to know whether the product is good, and you will always
Yeah.
go to your search engine. YouTube will pop up, and that's it. So that way our job is secure. But in terms of what people are going to start watching is going to be more lifestyle oriented. I feel like, showing your authentic, true self, like, in terms of vlogs, in terms of, which I kind of agree, disagree, because there's a lot of, content that revolves around kids, which I'm not very happy about.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm not happy about, when you show your kids 24/7, because I think that is something that needs to calm down over here. But in terms of, like, cooking and travel and where to go, all that will come back. I feel that what YouTube was before, where, it was travel vlogs. It used to be, remember that,
Yeah,
when
yeah.
your favorite content creator used to travel, and there used to be like, 10 places to go and shop, 10 places. So all that will come back. So consumerism in terms of, makeup and skincare and fashion and all that will kind of, like, I won't say it will die, but it will be something that these kind of format of vlogs and cooking and being with your
Yeah.
family and traveling, that will supersede it. So I guess that's where we are going, because right now the viewers who are watching, they're way too intelligent. Yeah, I mean, they know exactly what they want. You can't just oversell anything to them. Okay, their knowledge when it comes to ingredients, when it comes to
Yeah.
makeup, skincare, whatever, you can't beat them. You can't fool them anymore. You can't just sit there and be like, but this did brighten my skin in 2 days. You can't do that. You'll get beaten up, black and blue, in the comment section. So things are changing, and I feel vlog styles. Then I think that's why lifestyle bloggers are doing very well at the moment,
Yeah.
along with gamers. So that is something that's going to go on more and more. So
Yeah.
even now, I can see my content creator friends who used to talk about beauty. All of them are doing vlogs at the moment.
Yeah.
The reason that I kind of like I thread carefully, it's because I don't want to involve Nirvana as much. And, my family is very private. My mom, my husband, they're very private people. So you need to be in an environment where they don't mind a camera 24/7 open
Yeah.
and vlog the entire thing. So that is where, again, like I said, that's my struggle as well. What
Yeah.
do I do? It's like, how do I just, turn and bring something different to the table? So I'll cross that bridge when I get there, but I feel a lot more people are tuning into seeing your true authentic self. They want to
Yeah.
know what you're up to,
I
what's your marriage
totally
like.
I totally get what you mean
Yeah.
when you talk about not wanting to expose your family on social media,
Yeah.
because I think over the years I've realized that, like, in the beginning it's fun and you don't realize it because you're the one creating, but these other people are just part of your life. They haven't chosen this content creation life,
Yes.
and whatever you put out there does affect them in their real life as well. And especially with children, I'm so glad you raised that point, because it makes me a lot of times very uncomfortable to see these family vlogs and the cameras on the child, like,
Yeah.
all the time.
All the time, whether they're crying, that is also vlogged. And these certain traumas that kids face, because it's like, they're all the time performing. And
Yeah.
then it tends to become this force of habit, where they themselves will be like, okay, this is the easier route to make some money, because they grow up thinking like this is the glamorous life. I'm not trying to put anyone down, but I just feel, considering the kind of um, the kind of threats that is online. We've got child trafficking,
Yeah.
pedophiles. You've got to be very, very careful with, showing kids online. And at the same time, even when I'm with my friends and I'm like, if you see the food shots are always like this, I will never pan, because they'll
Yeah.
be like, they'll just cover their face. And that itself should tell you that they're uncomfortable. So I've got a family that's not, they're very private. So yeah, you've got to choose your battles and see exactly. Like, I'm sure you must be getting this a lot, right?
Yeah, same. Because like my husband Akash, he doesn't like being on social media much. Maybe like once a month we'll do a reel together and people love the reels. But for me, my relationship is more important than my content. So I
Yes,
don't want to let that get affected. So I say, okay, it's fine. We can do it once a month or whenever you feel up for it.
absolutely.
But even like with the rest of my family also, they are also like, if my mother is in the background when I'm making a video, like she'll turn away and go because she doesn't want to be in the video. She just doesn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's not, I've earlier I used to be like, why? It's not a big deal. Nothing will happen.
yeah,
But then I was like, okay, that's not fair. Like, that's not fair to put them in that position.
yeah.
Um, but you also mentioned a very interesting thing. So, you mentioned lifestyle vlogs and how people are innately interested in content creators' lives.
Mhm.
But that can also become a problem where that curiosity becomes nosiness. And
Yes.
I think you know where I'm leading with this
Oh, yes,
question.
yes, yes, yes. I'm the queen out there of like, where's your husband? We can't find him. Why you're with him? Why if they see my brother's post and all? Oh, this is your new man in your life. I'm like, are you? So yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Hmm. Why do you think people are constantly speculating about your marriage?
I think also the fact that I've been in India for a very long time. I mean, everyone's like, okay, what sort of a marriage is this? That
Hmm.
she's here and he's there, and what's going on? They're all curious to know what's happening.
Hmm.
Whether we are still together, very much so. I mean, he was just here last week when I was in Albania. He was the one who came here to take care of the baby.
Hmm.
And Albania was supposed to be a trip between him and I, but we had to he was like, I will not get leave. And he works for the NHS. So he doesn't get
Hmm.
the holiday. So he was like, then I better spend time with her so that you can relax and have a great holiday. But I feel that um, people don't understand the concept of ambition.
Hmm.
So if at this age, as a mother, if I choose my career and if I'm ambitious about it, it's wrong. It's how can she choose her
Yeah.
career? How can she work? And I'm doing well right now. I've got a limited period of time to actually, make my money and, do the best that I can because I still have a child to take care of.
Yeah.
And being in London, and when you compare the kind of money I make here and there is a vast difference. So I will always, there's so many couples who, work. They do
Hmm.
have that long distance thing where the work, they will go where work pays you, and this, unfortunately, fortunately, India seems to be the place for me. And that is something that not many people understand. And I know that they're curious. Are they still together? And that's really sad because, when the questions keep arising and people start speculating,
Hmm.
I don't know how to fight this because this is the kind of life I chose to be online.
Hmm.
So I can't be like, oh, don't you dare talk. No, I can't do that at the same time. But it kind of hurts, because I know when he reads it, I know
Yeah.
what he's going through. I know like there are days when he gets really upset about certain things, like even people are talking, even people are asking, because he goes through that
Yeah.
up and down. So that's when it affects me a lot. And everything that is stated online is something that my daughter will read in the future. It is not
Yeah.
going to disappear. So that also worries me. So every time a question in a Q&A, I trust me when I tell you, out of, let's say, about 80, 90 questions, at least 10 would be, or 15 would be, where's your husband? Why you're not with him? So first it used to be like, why you're not pregnant? Why you're not having a baby? Then
Hmm.
when that happened, it's like, why you're not with your husband? Then now it is like, are you going to have a second child? So obviously people will keep on questioning you
This
about
is
something.
like nosy relatives into
It's just
lakhs.
your blood. That's it. It is like, but I am your well wisher, okay? And they will end it also like that. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
great. Like, thanks. Thanks for the
Hmm.
disclaimer. So, but yeah, that's something which I go through a lot. I mean, since I've chosen to work out here in India,
Yeah.
and he's out there, and he is a dentist in UK, and UK dentists, they do very well. So he has found his niche. He's found his calling.
Hmm.
This is my calling, and luckily, I have someone who understands that. What the future lies tomorrow, I don't know. I
Hmm.
really don't know. I can only trust the process right now and be thankful that he's supportive.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, if things changes, I will address that. But wait for me to address certain things. Don't just speculate, and that's very hurtful. But
Yeah.
yeah, I
And
mean,
also doing that on your, like, it's different from DMing the question to you, but commenting on your post where everybody else can see it and then
Yes.
inviting the discussion there, I think that's a bit
But
unnecessary.
then again, that's what makes people, the negative naysayers, it makes their day when they get those 10 likes and those 15
Yeah.
likes, under that, and they're like, oh, someone validated my point.
Mm-hmm.
I don't delete it. I mean, because if it has made your day, good for you. I mean, it made you happy. No, you asked the question. Now go live, be at peace.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Before, I remember during 2020, it even came to a point when it even hit my child. They said something very negative about Nirvana. And
Okay.
that's when I addressed it properly. And I was like, don't bring my child into this. That's when you cross the line. Because
Mm-hmm.
him and I, we can face our battles. But when it comes to the child also, that's when I was like, no, enough. Like that's when I took a break also for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was out of the scene for around 4 months because I could not take it anymore. So, and that was during the pandemic. And even then, if you are like, oh, she's money minded, she chose career over the husband, I'm like, where do you want me to take a raft and, with like a baby and like, swim and take a raft all the way to UK? What do you want me to do?
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, sometimes you just got to, like, I started beating their questions with sarcasm, which
Uh-huh.
also, it just doesn't go down very well with people.
Yeah.
But just I laugh. I mean, right now it's a funny situation. But yeah, I have a Q&A video coming up, and even there, I'm yeah.
I'm excited. I love your Q&A videos.
Yeah, so that is something people look forward to because they're like, okay, now what bomb is she going to drop?
Uh-huh.
So, so even there, I'm going to address this like, unless and until it comes from me, just let it be. And now I think people have understood that. They
Mm-hmm.
have got, like I said, the crowd that is with me is of my age group. So they've grown up with me and they know exactly what to ask. So I'm lucky that way. Things have changed in the last 1 year. You've got a couple of people, but not everyone.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's an important point you raised about creating content in India versus creating content in the UK. I
Yeah.
know some people have been able to move to another country and been able to continue it, but I don't think they've grown as much as they would have if they continue to remain in India.
Yes.
Because unlike other jobs, like a lot of it depends on you being in the same place, right? Because
Yes.
receiving products, going to
Yes.
events,
Yes.
um, brand collabs, a lot of them depend on you being in the same country. And I've realized that now after I've moved out of India, because there are a lot
Yeah.
of collabs that I'm like, sorry, I'm not in India anymore. And I've had to let go of a lot of things. So I
Yeah.
completely understand why
Yeah.
you've taken this decision. Totally
Yeah.
makes sense to me. I hope others will also, at least after hearing this podcast, they understand why
I
you're
hope
doing
so.
this.
Yeah, I
Because
hope so.
also this space kind of feels uh, limited, or like it's a ticking time bomb in a way, because you never know what's going to happen to these platforms. Like tomorrow, if these platforms go, then where can
Yeah.
you earn money, right? Or like, or now you have the momentum, like you've been working for 5 years, now you're
Yeah.
seeing the momentum, you definitely want to keep it going.
Yeah.
So yeah, I completely understand. People, please understand this logic.
Please, let me go now. But the thing is, see, in the UK, even when I was there, I mean, I got invited to so many events, but
Mm-hmm.
you do see that very subtle racism. There is still out there in the UK, which I hate to admit it, but it happens. It's like, it's very subtle. It's not on your face. So
Like what happens?
basically, so for example, if they invite you for an event, they would be like, okay, in a list of, let's say, 25 women who are British, they
Mm-hmm.
would be like, let's be inclusive. Let's add one person from Asia and one person from South Asia. So it would
Okay.
be, and then you would see that we are the only ones sitting on that table talking to each other. So because everyone
Okay.
else mingle, they know each other. And even the brands, you would see that, they will talk to us, but not as much as what they're talking to the rest of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we are added just to be part of that inclusive package, which it needs to change. It really needs to change a lot more because we've got a lot of Indians, a lot of Asians and South Asians that have the spending power, which they're
Mm-hmm.
not understanding right now. So I don't want free stuff anymore. I want work. I want my money. I have to pay bills. I have to take
Mhm.
care of a child. And that is understood here in India. So I think when we get married eventually, and I looked after, I was there for him
Mhm.
for I mean, it's 10 years of marriage. So I've been part of his journey and I've just finally chosen to do something for me, you know? So that's why I was like, okay, let me, like you said, there is only this much time period, you know, for
Yeah.
you to just shine through and make that money, because through this you can open another door, whether you want to start your own brand or you want to, you know, start a podcast or you want to go somewhere. This is the time frame. I don't know what it is in the future, but I know that this is where I have to be and I have to make my money right now, you know? So shamelessly, I've chosen to be like, you know, ruthlessly ambitious.
Mhm.
Um, and I just hope through this podcast, people see my point of view as well, because I know it's hard for him. It's hard on
Mhm.
him to be there without his child, without me. I get that. But this is what life is all about, you know? It's just another 2, 3 more years. That's it. I mean, hopefully, I don't know.
Like, I know when I watch your video, I'm gonna get like the blunt truth about the product. I
Yeah.
remember this, okay? I remember that Fenty Real MVP lipstick that you had done a review on. You were the only creator who mentioned that it smudges, and you
Yeah.
showed that it smudges.
Yes.
And I'd seen so many other reels of people showing, and it's a beautiful color, and I was so tempted to buy it. But then I remember your reel. I'm like, she said it
Mhm.
smudges. I'm
Oh,
not going to get it.
stunning, stunning, absolutely stunning. There's still no lipstick as pigmented and as rich. It's like velvet, you know. I don't think there's anything else as unique as that. But it went everywhere, dude. I was like, took off my shirt, it was there. On my hands, it was there. And I remember every time my friends would be like, Shweta, Shweta, Shweta.
Oh
You know,
no.
so when you're trying to take this out, because it's so richly pigmented, it goes here, and then end of the day you're like sitting like, you know, the Joker from
Clown
Batman,
face.
and you're like, you know, like cheers, you know. So you just give up, you know. After that it was all over, and it's strange that no one spoke about that. And the
Mhm.
hate that I received on my shots, not on reels,
Mhm.
because there's a lot of Fenty fans, and they were like, "Oh, you know, you just want the brand's attention." This and the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. These are the two things that I said honestly. Pillow Talk from Charlotte Tilbury, original, not for brown skin. It's
Mhm.
not brown skin friendly. That was it. And the kind of comments, it was like, oh my God, how do I fight this? Understand what I'm trying to tell you. It's a beautiful lipstick, but it smudges all over. And I remember you and I connecting over that, because we
Yes.
were like, yeah, I remember that very clearly. And I was like, oh, okay, so there are a few of them who appreciated the honesty.
Mhm.
And I've tried my level best with all the products to just give, you know, the pros and cons. Even if it is a collab, even when
Mhm.
it's a brand collab, the first thing I tell the brand, listen, just be prepared that I'm going to say the exact truth.
Mhm.
You know, I'm not going to put you down in any way, but I have to tell them, like, okay, this is what they can expect. You know, it's not like immediately you walking in like, you know, Aishwarya Rai with wind in the hair, and I'll be like, you know, yeah, I have to tell them. I have to just tell them like exactly what I didn't like and what I liked. Luckily, the brands that are working with me, they know. They know.
Mm.
There are a few big brands that still refuses to work with me because of this fact. So I don't even know whether it's a good thing to be dishonest in the field of work, because I have noticed that I'm not getting the kind of projects like many others do. And I
Mhm.
think it's only because lately also I got to know that one of the biggest brand was like, no, she's, you know, she won't stick to the script. So yeah, so I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I really don't know.
I think it's a good thing for your audience. I don't know if it's a good thing for your bank balance.
Yes, that's true. It's not. It really isn't for my audience. But then again, I've always, it's my subscribers more than anything else, you know, because money will come and go.
Mhm.
But what remains is actually, you know, people knowing that, hey, you know, she stands by what she believes in. And I don't want someone to tell me, like, you know, I'm a sellout. I
Yeah.
hate that. You know, it's a very disheartening thing, especially after being here for so long, you know.
Mhm.
So that is why I always choose my viewers. they're way above. Of course, money is equally important, but I try to make my money in other ways, like affiliates or
Mm-hmm.
discount codes, where people will be like, "Why do you always put code everywhere?" And I'm like, "Dude, please, jeeva chota hai. Just let me just live, man. I mean, so this is that way or another, I will somehow try to make my money.
Mm-hmm.
But I have just now learned, if the brands don't want to work with me, I mean, what can I do? It's their loss, actually, because I'm very good with my reviews. And if they're not very sure, because I don't, it's the script, it's the whole idea of script these days
Yeah.
that is spoiling the scenario. It is never, it's very rare to come across somebody who will just speak from the heart.
Yeah,
Now,
and it's, I think, especially with beauty, I've found this particularly in beauty where they want a proper script and they want you to follow it to the T. And everyone's going to be saying the exact same thing. Like, do you
yeah.
not see the problem here?
Yeah, absolutely. And even when there are new brands that approach me and they're like, do you have a script? I'm like, no. I don't have a script. I don't have like someone, writing down and point one, look at the camera, point
Mm-hmm.
two, blah. I don't do all that. It is just basically prop the camera. I edit by myself. Everything, it's like a one-person show. So I know that I might have to step up the game, but I can't stick to the script issue. For me, that is the biggest issue right now that I'm facing. Like, how can you say the same thing that 10 other people? It
Yeah.
sounds also like a mass marketing thing. So
Mm.
I think just reading off, it needs to be more heartfelt. And I miss that part of YouTube. I miss
Yeah.
that part where we were given the complete freedom to just talk what we wanted. So I just hope it comes back. I really do.
I think
This,
that's the beauty of long form content, though, right? That you can just sit and you can have that conversation with
right?
your audience. Yeah.
Right?
And I think that's the way, like shorts, you'll see for the information, you'll be like, okay, nice. But I
Yeah,
think long form is where the audience connects to you because we listen
absolutely.
to you talk, we listen to your flow of thought, and then we get used to how you speak as well. Like when
Yeah.
you were describing Fenty, I was like, this sounds exactly like her. This is how you talk in real life, like how you talk in your reels.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's the thing. No, it's like, first of all, we need more friends, okay, as content creators, okay. It's because for us, we need to, we are half the time talking in front of the camera, we are by ourselves, and the only way we can connect is with the audience, and it's that friendship, which of course you have not seen them, but I know many of my subscribers by their names right now,
Mhm.
because it's nice to connect and just be yourself. And I've noticed even you've been doing a lot of long form content. I've seen that your
Yeah.
reviews. I saw that even the last one. You were talking about the latest hyped about products. Something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I know that you're enjoying it. It's a different scenario altogether when you just prop the camera and you're like talking and saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
this." No, I'll tell you why I didn't like it. So
Yeah.
when it is short form content and you're like this, or you just keep quiet, and most of the content you're seeing in short form, they're not even talking. It's
Yeah.
mostly expression, or they'll be like,
Yeah, and as a like for entertainment it's fine, but if I'm looking for information, then
exactly.
it's not helping. Like I can watch like 10 shots or 10 reels and not get that information, but like one in-depth YouTube video will be like, okay, I get it now. I get the context. I get why it works, why it doesn't, etc. And then
Hmm.
I think you can make a informed choice because
Yeah,
now everything you want to buy, like there are new products coming out all the time.
yeah,
So where do I spend my money?
yeah.
That's the dilemma that all of us go through.
Yeah, us OGs have just stuck to the format. It's very hard for us to like now get out of the mold. We're so used to that. We call ourselves YouTube grannies, where we're just sitting and like, "Mole, buy this." Either and because it is like this. So
Uh-huh.
we are not going to change. We still, even when I speak to my friends, Shreya, Jovita, and all that, this is something that we all connect. That we are not going to change. This is what we find happiness in, just talking. If
Mm-hmm.
someone wants to tune in, you tune in. I mean, that's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a feeling it will change. Like I said, I've seen when YouTube was, in its prime, when it went down, then again, it's something that goes, it just rides the wave. And I have a feeling that this long form content will come back, because somewhere or another, this is going to reach a saturation point. You
I
know, how
already
much?
feel saturated on Instagram. Like I'm scrolling through reels and I realize I don't even remember like the past previous two reels I watched.
The only thing that stays in my head is all the dog reels and all that, where I laugh
Yeah.
my ass off in the middle of the night. I'll be like, because of all the funny videos,
Uh-huh.
but nothing else registers because it's just too much. I mean, it's just too saturated, and I have a feeling that long form content will come back.
I
But it'll
hope
be
so.
better. I hope so too. But
Yeah.
give it about a year or two, then maybe we'll see in the form of
Yeah.
vlogs.
I'm also betting on like because I love listening to podcasts myself. Like I can just put it and like do my chores or whatever while listening to something. So I feel like I see people getting interested in it. And also because I talk to content creators, people only usually see like 15 seconds of a person. They don't know anything else because they form an impression based on that, which is completely natural. But
Yes.
once they watch the podcast, they're like, oh, I learned so many other aspects about this person
Yeah.
that I didn't know before. So I think then they understand your content better because now they have the context in their mind.
Do you prefer the podcast more than your videos, your long form videos? Are you liking this a little more as a platform?
Yes, I love, like, I've always loved having these kind of long conversations with people
Yeah.
because, again, like, I knew you only from your reels, your videos, and I had, okay, this is who Shweta is. But now talking to you, I feel like, whoa, this is who Shweta is. Like, there's
Yeah.
so much more
Connect.
depth to a person,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I love doing the podcast. And speaking of fans, I have fan questions. My book just fell down, but let's get to the let's get to
Okay.
fan questions.
Let's do it.
Okay. So the first question is from Sarah from Bangalore. She asks, "What beauty trend do you regret trying?"
Um, Beauty trend. I think physical scrubs.
Oh yeah, like the walnut
Remember the
scrubs.
walnut scrub where I'm like, oh, it is so good for blackhead, and then finally there was no skin left. Yeah, so that was one of the trends that I hated when I first started. Even sheet masks, all those,
Oh
which,
yeah.
yeah, which I finally made a video saying that please stop that because I finally woke up to, what was good for the environment, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So that trend of that, that spa ritual, I'll show you how to do a spa ritual at home and then scrub the shit out of your nose. That is something which I mean, I could have educated myself better. But like I said, that chemical exfoliation wasn't a big thing, it was all
Yeah,
about the physical one. So that's one trend which that and sheet mask when I first started. That's something I regret actually. But hey, it's changed now.
we learn. We
We
learn.
learn.
Yeah.
Yeah, we learn, we grow.
Yes. The second question is from Tracy from London. She asks, "Why are social media awards not inclusive of South Indian influencers?"
Very good question. Actually, in this year, I noticed a few South Indian content creators that were awarded for what they did. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
saw some of my favorites. It can be a lot more. I'm just taking this as a small win. And I
Mm-hmm.
really don't know why we are still not invited to many award functions, why we are not included. Um, why we're not hitting the mainstream in a big way. They're
Yeah.
still going by the Bombay, Delhi, certain north factors are there. But I have a feeling, give it around 2, 3 years, it will change. Cosmo already changed this year. There were a few new faces,
Mm-hmm.
new South Indian creators that actually won, but they need to do a lot more. I have
Yeah.
no clue why. I talk to my friends and especially my South Indian content creator friends, even Northeast. They're not including people other than the North Indians, and
Yeah.
it makes us really sad. But I think are people actually paying attention to award functions? I think it's again something that people just oh, you won an award, okay, great.
Yeah. But
Um,
it's a great validation for the kind of work you're doing. So if
Absolutely, it is. Everyone wants that validation. Everybody
Mhm.
does. But if you sit here thinking like, "Why I'm not getting an award," and you feel really dejected about it, then you're going to be in that rabbit hole for a very long time. Because for things to change, you know how it is to get that kind of attention from certain award functions, just to
Mm-hmm.
include you. We know that. I've been to many to notice the kind of like attention that South Indians get and the kind of
Yeah.
attention Bombay and Delhi gets. It's very strange. It's still there.
Yeah. Which is
Yeah.
surprising because a lot of South Indian creators have a huge following
Oh,
and a very
huge.
dedicated fan base. So it's
Absolutely.
actually better for these award functions to include them because you have the public voting, right? So
Yeah.
so many
So
more
that
people will
is
be
what I
included in the
don't understand.
process.
Yeah, exactly. If it is public voting, then why is it that you're not including more from the South section or various others? Also, I feel like either they think that we don't have the spending power to buy certain things, or their notion about South India is totally different. I don't know what it
Mm-hmm.
is. It could be like, oh, I don't know. I really don't know, because I think that South Indians are doing unbelievable work right now, even in terms of what we are on the same par. So, and
Mm-hmm.
they should be absolutely, you can't differentiate between North and South when it comes to content creator. It's
Yeah.
about the product, how you sell your product. That's the only thing that a brand and the award committee should see, which needs to change a lot more, but I've seen a slight change in this time's Cosmo, which I'm really
Mm-hmm.
happy. A small win is still a win for me,
Yeah.
so I'm hoping that by next year, because a lot more South Indians are voicing out their concern, so I
Yeah.
hopefully it will reach them, and more and more of us will be included.
Yeah, like how you mentioned about spending power, I think they recognize that there is a huge audience in South India in terms of numbers because a lot of brand collabs that I get is like, we are targeting people in Bangalore, Chennai, etc. So we want to work with you in that case. What I think is happening is probably the jury is not diverse enough. So probably they're not consuming South Indian content. So it's very natural. If you live in Bombay, you would follow Bombay influencers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I think like I see so many people doing fantastic work, but every single time the awards are announced, I'm seeing the same people getting nominated. I'm like, really? Like, is there nobody else who's doing good work?
I know. And you know what? Also, this time they made most of the content creators also jury members. If you
Mm-hmm.
noticed in this time's Cosmo, there were so many of my content creator friends also who were there as jury members. So I'm like, okay, so why didn't you do
Yeah.
something, so I don't know whether it is just jury members not being diverse, because if you're taking content creators as your jury members, then I'm sure they know what the problem is, how to merge, how to bring a little more inclusivity and diversity in, in what you're doing. So I have no idea what is going wrong at the moment, but I definitely, it's that elephant in the room that needs to be addressed, and
Yeah.
I
I
think
agree.
more and more people are keeping quiet because they're like, okay, if I say something, what if next year I don't get nominated? What if next year, they have a problem with me? If you go on this way without voicing out, I mean, Jovita and I have been talking about this for a very long time about why
Mm-hmm.
we are not being included. Now we're just like, okay, like, we file our nails. It's like, okay, another year. Okay, very
uh,
nice. So, yeah, so I hope this changes, really. I really
yeah,
do.
me too.
Hmm.
All right, final question. This is from Jagdeshwari. She
Hmm.
says, your mindset is ironclad. How did you develop it to handle the horrors of social media?
Ooh, wow. Now that's a question. Uh, I don't know how to answer that really, because
Uh-huh.
um, I don't know whether because I'm fixated and I'm obsessed with with just being very strongly who I am and what I believe in, and it's not like with an iron fist I'm like this is it, my
Uh-huh.
kingdom, this is the truth, and no, it's like not changing you as a
Mm-hmm.
person despite what is happening with social media, um, despite what the trends are. This is what we just discussed.
Yeah.
Like it's just going to change, and you got to realize that end of the day when I check out of all this, who do I
Mm-hmm.
want to be remembered as someone who was like a sellout, or someone who just went with the flow? If money was great, okay, there you go.
Mm.
If the brand tells me what to do, there you go. No. So if this is my reputation of just being I'd rather take it's okay. I will take this. It won't, like I said, it won't be good for my pocket, but at least it's a reputation that is not that bad to have. I feel. What do you think?
It's a
Um,
great reputation to have because at the end of the day, when you have so many people creating content, what you have is you and your integrity. And that's what
yes.
people remember you by.
Yeah, I
So,
know.
and at the end of the day, like you're okay, social media, it's there, but it's another world, when you are by yourself at night, when you reflect, how am I doing? What do I
Yeah.
stand for? If
Yeah,
you're at peace
exactly.
with that, then that's the
Yeah,
best way to
same
live
thing.
life, right?
When I get a question like Chichi, I'm still waiting for your review. You
Yeah.
know, unless you tell me it is good, then only I'll go and buy it. Or can you tell me what do you think of it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, that is my win. That really is my win. So when the brands don't come my way because of a certain thing, I'm not fitting according to what they feel is normal and part of the trend, then it's okay. I'll take this as my win. Great question. Tell her that, let's be friends. Let's connect.
All right, I'll let her know.
Watching me, that was a really good question. I think you and I can be really good friends. It's all right.
Awesome. Thank you
Oh,
so much, Shweta, for
I
giving me
love
your
this.
time and coming on the podcast
Thank
today.
you so much for having me here.
I
I
had such
mean,
a good time.
same. Thank you for this opportunity. It's always amazing to connect, with people who are like-minded.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've always been a huge fan of your work. So this is a huge honor for me to be a part of your podcast.
Ah! Okay. I
No,
don't need blush because my cheeks are like, right now. But thank
uh,
you so much. Do you have anything exciting coming up you want to tell the audience about?
Actually, no. I have no brand sort of a thing launched, nothing, because I think when I spoke about what I was up to,
Mm-hmm.
people were like, "Oh, you're launching something," but no. Just watch my videos. Hopefully,
Okay.
when my business venture takes off, I hope I have your support, and that would happen end of the year. And it has nothing to do with the beauty space. And I just hope
Is it to
that
do with fashion or
food.
food? Oh.
Something different, but I just hope that people will just extend their support for that, because it's something which I'm equally passionate about. Otherwise, yeah, just watch the video, watch the long format
Okay, but I
video.
like I like the listeners of Chuma Conversations got the first hint. It's a food related project.
Yes,
Everyone's
yes,
going to keep their eyes out. Thank you so much.
yes.
Those of you who are watching or listening, I'll put all the Shweta's social links in the description. Be sure to check her out. Thank
Thank
you so
you.
much, Shweta. Have a
Thank you.
fantastic week ahead.
It has been brilliant. Bye.
New episodes of Chuma Conversations with your favorite content creators will be out every Wednesday, so make sure you click on that follow or subscribe button to make sure you never miss an episode when it comes out. Have a great week ahead. Bye.